Anthony Hyland is on the line, and we're going to be talking about his new documentary series, Clout, which episodes 1 and 2 have been released, detailing Anthony, a US service member's struggle to clear his name after false allegations were made against him on social media of sexual assault. And Anthony, of course, joins us now. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. And we actually just dropped another episode. So there's actually 3 episodes out now, and awaiting the 4th and final.
Now, what made you want to share your story in the form of a documentary?
The biggest motivation to share was to change not just the culture of navigating false allegations, but also to pique the interest of lawmakers. In the absence of official documentation of a filing of some sort, people in today's society just get on social media and just say any and everything about individuals. And considering the size platform I have, to the tune of 1.6 million followers, it's not just something that's going to be swept under the rug. So I felt a swift and tangible desire to get ahead of this by not only jumpstarting my own investigation via NCIS, which is the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. And then subsequently, the filmmaker that reached out to me, he wanted to capture this in a documentary, which we essentially turned into a docu-series because it compiled a little over a year's worth of footage.
And the thing about false sexual assault allegations is that even if you're found not guilty or innocent, or it was never even investigated in the first place because the evidence was so flimsy, your reputation will never really recover.
I would say I agree and disagree with that, and I'm going to tell you why. I do say that I agree from a public perception standpoint, because we recognize, especially, you being a host yourself, the court of public opinion is huge in today's day and age. However, I do believe that there is a faction of people whom they look at all of the evidence and they say, you know what, this individual is innocent, and they hold space for that individual consistently. Now, from a smaller perspective, absolutely. This is going to follow you. People are going to bring these types of things up, which is why I believe that documentation is so vitally important. And that's what I saw in terms of timeline, that I needed to get official documentation stating that I'm cleared of these false allegations, so that it wouldn't haunt me moving forward with brand deals, companies that I work with, et cetera, et cetera.
There'd always be a cloud hanging over you, maybe, if you didn't do this, because maybe people that aren't big fans of you, who just kind of know about your name, they hear these allegations and they maybe forget that they were nonsense.
Absolutely. And what this docuseries also would serve as is a point of reference, so that I don't have to spend all of my time consumed with this, which is essentially what I did last year, to whereby my main content takes a hit, because every time I turn around, I feel the need and or desire to defend myself from these egregious allegations.
And have you had any kind of backlash to this? Because there are some factions out there who would maybe defend the people making the allegations before they even really know the whole truth.
Absolutely. One of the things that I recognized going into this, and I'm glad you asked that, it's a phenomenal question, the believe the victim crowd, right? And I said from the very beginning that I knew that I would have to deal with individuals whom take up that standpoint. The only thing that I asked of those individuals is to gather all of the information before making a definitive standpoint on where you lie in that. And lo and behold, one thing that I've seen from the moment this has started up until now is I've received a lot of apologies. I've received a lot of individuals whom come on my live stream on my TikTok and tell me that, in the beginning, they were definitely on her side. However, after listening to her consistently and, refusing, interviews with, federal agents to sit down and tell her story because she wanted everything to be on social media. And I think it's disingenuous to survivors such as myself. I was sexually assaulted when I was 13 and 16. So it's even triggering for me. But to just think about all of the men and women and people that wish they would have just had someone to listen to them, not even necessarily from the standpoint of like, I have to get justice. Now, of course, everyone wants justice. However, we recognize that justice looks different for people. Just to have someone listen to them and to know that it's been documented that, she had federal agents willing to sit down with her and talk with her about this alleged experience. That she refused because she wanted to record it. And they told her that it's not standard practice to record from a civilian's recording device an ongoing investigation, which has literally in the history of law enforcement never been standard practice.
Making a false allegation just makes it harder for a real victim to come forward because you're giving victims as a whole a bad name.
Absolutely. And the consistent triggering of victims, I can't tell you how many men specifically, Black men specifically, American Black men that have come to me and told me stories of, scholarships that were lost, jail time that they've had to do all over false allegations. And then even when that person comes back and states that they lied, the refusal to overturn their convictions and or the refusal of those scholarship opportunities that, there's some damage that can't be undone, even if, those individuals are released, which I firmly believe that anyone that is falsely accused and convicted of a crime should definitely be, let go, barring factual evidence, of course. However, for me specifically, being, an active duty service member, having access to be able to talk with NCIS and have them conduct a full investigation, everyone doesn't have access to that. And I'm very understanding of that as well. However, you're absolutely right. People are so apprehensive, especially when we look at the data as it relates to men reporting, just in general, worldwide, we're a little bit more apprehensive towards reporting. And oftentimes it comes from this very sentiment, individuals whom are crying wolf and or we just genuinely feel like we're not going to be believed. Then you have scores of women, which we can definitely hold space for, that have also dealt with the same. They don't feel as though that they're going to be heard and or listened to. You have individuals whom will immediately invalidate their experiences. So I oftentimes do my best to separate the conversations to say, hey, let's not use this as an opportunity to diminish real victims and real victim stories to say, hey, well, if this person over here was lying, then you must be lying. It's like, no, we don't have to do that. However, we can also simultaneously hold space for individuals whom have literally been falsely accused and say we can separate these two without conjoining them together.
Yeah. I kind of think in the real courts, it's innocent until proven guilty, but on social media and in public opinion, it's guilty until proven innocent.
1000%. And that is the roughest place to navigate on social media. And the bigger your platform becomes, the more unfair expectations you're held to, as well as unfair responsibilities that are bestowed upon you, that essentially you're made to give essentially private grace to public disrespect. And in my 2 years of having this platform over on TikTok, this being my largest social media platform, I've never dealt with anything to this degree. It definitely weighed very heavily on me to the point where I had to go back to therapy because I just genuinely felt like I wasn't able. Now, granted, there's some other personal factors that played a role as well. But this was the largest piece, to be attempted to be branded a sexual predator, given, I'm sure you're familiar with, Robert Kelly and everything surrounding, that situation, and to come off the back of, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, that situation as well. And to see, him, get the justice that he rightfully deserved, of course. Yeah. But just to hear some of those things, I think it plays right into this idea that nobody in their right mind wants to be branded this way. And it just kind of sucks, feeling as though you're guilty and not even have an opportunity in some people's eyes to even at the bare minimum defend yourself.
Yeah. Now, the documentary is called Clout. Do you think it's going to help people who have maybe been in a similar situation to you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it was almost genius to title it that. My original draft, and I was talking with the director the other day, and I said on a live stream, I said, yeah, me and my director, we were back and forth with the title because I wanted to name it The Dark Side of Social Media. And he was like, that's too much words. He was like, what does this center around? And then he showed me this clip where she stated, because of course, after a whole year, just for context, nothing has been filed. No police report, no interviews, nothing. He showed me a clip of her saying, why would I sit in a courtroom with 12 complete strangers when we could put millions of eyes on this, and essentially allude to allowing the public to decide who's innocent and who's guilty. And I said, clout. That's all it is. And on the social media side of the house, many people don't know this. Narcotics experts are actually hired to make these social media platforms as addictive as possible.
Wow.
So in that idea of clout being the drug, I genuinely believe that there will be an abundance of people whom this sets the precedence for, that when they say certain things on social media, that it now serves as an accountability system for them to understand that while you absolutely have freedom of speech that also does not give you freedom of consequence.
Absolutely. Well, where are we able to find all the episodes in the documentary? My
director, his name is Derek. His YouTube channel is Dammit Derek, DAMMIT Derek, DERRICK, and there's an entire playlist for the docuseries. If you go to his YouTube channel and then you click playlist, it's literally the top playlist that says docuseries on YouTube. That's Dammit Derek, DAMMIT Derek, DERRICK.
Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on the show.
Definitely, absolutely. Thanks for having me.